PJ,
Hi.
good morning. And it's an early
Good
morning. Are
morning.
you in California?
Yeah, 8 a.m.
Well, we
Thanks for coming
appreciate
on.
we appreciate you getting up and spending a little time with us here for our crack and the bat
Yeah, no
piece that
problem
we
at
do
all.
for the society. So we're in California, are you?
San Diego.
Or San Diego?
Yeah.
So we're gonna kind of touch on another thing. So am I pronouncing this right? Born in Belfast.
Yep.
Okay. Do you know who? Have you ever heard of a guy called Harry McElveen?
No.
Harry McElveen pitched for the 1906 to 1909 Highlanders, the team before the Yankees,
Uh-huh.
and he was also from the Falls Road,
Oh, damn.
and also Owen Nolan. You know, have you
Never
heard of
heard of that either.
Owen Nolan's a hockey player? So
Okay.
I was looking to see this. So born in Belfast, moved back to California when you were two. So clearly you have no early memories of Belfast.
No, not really.
No. So here's the thing. Dad's Irish, obviously. Mom's Scottish.
Yep.
So as a kid growing up, were any of your friends able to understand your parents?
Not at all. Not a single word.
Yeah. Now you
Oh,
grew
yeah.
up. Am I pronouncing this right? Placentia?
Placentia.
Oh, Placentia.
Yeah.
I did some research. They're doing a lot of construction there. So as a kid growing up, who were you a baseball fan and who were you a fan of?
I grew up an Angels fan. We had like season tickets. Lived about 15 minutes from the stadium. And so we were going to Angel games all the time, and I was the biggest Angel fan. But I always considered the Mets my National League team as soon as they signed Johan Santana, because Johan Santana and Randy Johnson were my two favorite players growing up. So when the Mets signed Johan, I I adopted the Mets as my National League team.
Now, when was Johan gone when you were signed by the Mets? Was he gone in 15?
Yeah, he was gone. Yeah.
Now, do you know the coolest thing about Johan Santana?
What?
Everybody knows he was a Rule 5 draft.
Uh-huh.
It was the wrong player.
Really?
The Twins were looking at a shortstop, and someone got the names mixed up, and they ended up getting Johan Santana.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So in doing my research, I found out that there's another famous member of your family, your uncle, Eddie Shaw.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I may have met him once. So Eddie was a boxing trainer, and Eddie trained Barry McGuigan.
Yep.
You know. So now Eddie has passed, but did you know him, or is he? I couldn't find out when he passed, but.
No, I didn't know him. It's my granny's brother. So
your granny's brother.
Yeah, it'd be like my
Wikipedia said it was
uncle.
Wikipedia said it was your mom's brother.
No, my granny's.
So you're retired now. What are you doing?
Right now I'm finishing up my last semester at University of San Diego. So May 23rd, I will finally get that long-awaited college degree. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that.
What are you studying?
I'm gonna get my degree in marketing.
Very nice.
So it's been a long time coming. So I'm excited to finally get that little piece of paper pretty soon.
Well, in all fairness, you were pacing yourself. You know, you don't want to do it. I mean, they say college is supposed to be the best years of your life. You can say, well, it was kind of like the best 10 years of your life. So,
exactly.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Took a little hiatus in the middle.
Precisely. So tell me, with everything that's gone on, during the pandemic, and we've all been locked down, have you taken up any unusual hobbies, or have you learned to cook, or have you worked on your origami game, or?
I took up guitar, so I've been playing guitar the last year. I took it up a little bit before the pandemic hit, but once that became a thing, I really kind of dove into it. So I'm not too bad right
So
now.
can we expect to see you with like Bronson Arroyo maybe, or Bernie Williams doing, take me out to the ball game at a Angels game or a Mets game for that matter?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I would really have to practice a lot more though.
Have you can you play any Irish songs?
Dirty Old Town. I like playing that one.
That's a good one. Actually, for some reason I was listening to that at 2 o'clock this morning. I don't know why. But so obviously I see you're rocking your Celtics gear. Were you is your dad a big soccer fan?
Yeah, grew up, kind of had to love Celtic, and so I thought it'd be fitting. It's a Henrik Larsson jersey because that was my favorite player growing up. So I've had this for about 5 years or so.
So funny story about Henrik Larsson. His first day with Rangers, sorry, with Celtic. His first day, he shows up for training, and he's wearing a blue hoodie.
Oh, geez.
They wouldn't let him in. He had to go home and change. He said, "I learned very quickly about the rivalry between Celtic and Rangers."
That's
so born in Belfast, moved back to California when you were 2. So were your parents are your parents baseball fans before you got into it?
My dad's from Belfast. He moved to California when he was 14. Went to high school and college in California and met my mom. They moved back. When my dad came over in high school, he played baseball for 1 year, but he said he was terrible. He only got to run the bases if he was pinch running or if he got hit by the pitch. So that's like his favorite story to tell. But he really fell in love with the game and taught himself the rules and stuff. And so that's who kind of taught me baseball. He'd be the first one to tell you he was never any good at it, but he just really enjoyed the game. And so he showed me, all the rules and how to play, and took me to a bunch of games, and then just kind of grew from there.
Very nice. So you're in California now. Your grandparents are there as well, right? They're on your on your dad's side.
Yeah, on my dad and mom's side, they're all in California now.
So when they all get together, that's got to be quite an interesting. You have no chance of knowing what they're saying with a heavy Scottish accent, a heavy Belfast accent.
Oh yeah, it's when I bring friends around and stuff. My girlfriend she came with me to Easter, and really got to see everyone in their element for the first time because everyone was vaccinated and stuff like that. And she was just like, her head was turning left and right, trying to keep up with the conversations because she's like, I can really only understand them if I'm looking right at their face and trying to read their lips and stuff. So it's pretty funny.
I had a similar experience. I brought my girlfriend to Ireland, and we happened to have a family get together. And same thing, I left her alone, and all I can see is this shocked look as she's stuck in the corner. So listen, I had a joke that you can tell your Belfast family because they're the only ones who are going to get it. There's 3 ducks flying over Belfast. The first says quack. The second says quack. And the third one says, I can't go any quacker. Only people from Northern Ireland get that. No,
oh yeah, I got to tell them that.
I don't know how we're going to do this, but we have to figure out a way. I was looking you up on Baseball Reference. They have the wrong flag on your profile. So we're going to have to get rid of that Union Jack that's on your profile. So John's the ways we can figure out how to do that. I'm on it. So
have to.
So you grow up in California, right basically in Anaheim or in the shadows of Anaheim, and you go to college in San Diego, which is the place to go. John and I both made the mistake of thinking that you went to San Diego State, so I had 6 million questions about the Tony Gwynn.
Oh no!
I can't see you, but you went to University of San Diego, so we apologize for that.
Yeah. No San Diego State here.
So tell me, what was it like then in 2014 when you basically traveled across the country to Cape Cod, and you were you played in the Cape Cod League, right?
Yeah, that was like the best summer ever. It was unreal. Playing in Chatham. I didn't pitch very great, but that's okay because it was so much fun, and just the competition there, and just the number of guys on that team that are still playing baseball and stuff is it's just unbelievable. And my manager out there, Schiffner, who had been there for forever, he is just a legend, and he just made sure that we had a great time. And yeah, I look back on that summer like it was one of the best times of my life.
So, okay, I've seen that movie with Freddie Prinze Jr. What is it called? Spring Fling or Summer Fling or whatever it is.
It's
So is it like
Cat.
that? No, Summer Cat. So
Yeah.
what's it like? I mean, what's your day like when you're on the Cape Cod League? I mean, are you with a host family?
Yeah, I was with a host family. Stayed with one of the other guys on the team with that host family. He actually plays for the Mets. Patrick Mazika. Me and him were roommates in the Cape Cod League, and just kind of, I mean, I would sleep in pretty much every day. I'd wake up at like 11 or 12, grab some food, go to the field at like around 2 or 3, and then, I mean, it being at the field was just so fun. So I'd want to get there as soon as possible, and then obviously play the game. There'd always be kids there to sign autographs for, and that was really the first time that I had ever done anything like that. So that was really cool for me. And then the team that I was on, we were super close. So we just find a place to hang out with each other after the game. We loved having a good time with each other, and just spending time with each other. And when we got eliminated from when we found out we weren't going to be able to go to the playoffs that year, we were all pretty bummed because none of us wanted to go home, and that's kind of rare in summer ball. Usually in summer ball, everyone wants to go home as soon as possible, but we wanted to stay out there as long as we could.
So that's 2014. 2015, you get drafted by the Mets. I read somewhere where you said it was a traumatic couple of days. It's not the fanfare that we see now. So you were drafted the second day?
Third
Third
day. I had
day.
to wait till the third day. Yep.
You know, but so how does it? So who called you?
I don't even remember who called me. I was just talking to my agent a lot, and I remember I was pretty upset that I didn't go on day 2. And so I wasn't even going to wake up in time for on day 3 because it started at, I think, 8 in the morning, and I was in Santa Barbara playing summer ball. And I was like, I'm just going to sleep in. I'll let my agent take care of it. Didn't set an alarm or anything, but happened to wake up in time for the draft, and had a call from a couple of teams, and my agent told me that the Mets were going to be the best fit for us, and that I had to call all the other teams and tell them I was going back to college so they didn't draft me. And so I trusted his decision in that, and then waited around to the 13th round, and Mets finally took me.
Cool. So how soon after you get that phone call do you have to report?
I think I was in Brooklyn in about 5 days or so. So I didn't even go to St. Lucie. They just told me to go straight to Brooklyn. And it was strange because I got there a full day before the rest of the team. So I was at the hotel, I was in New York for, I think, 36 hours until I saw another person that was going to be on the Brooklyn Cyclones.
That
was a little strange.
And you're 21. I mean, it's not exactly the greatest part of Brooklyn, so I mean, it's must be quite a culture shock. So before we get into your Mets career, John, we have a question.
Yeah, we've got John from the Bronx asked, PJ, have you ever thought of playing baseball for the Ireland team? And wouldn't it be great if Ireland could play in the World Baseball Classic sometime in the future?
Yeah, I've talked to Team Ireland a bunch. I was actually going to go play for them last summer before the pandemic hit. I think they were going to play in Croatia. So I was getting ready to do that. And yeah, I still would love to do it. I think it'd be super fun to wear Ireland across my chest and go play for them. So I think I will do that at some point. I haven't talked to them in a while. I honestly haven't picked up a baseball, and I played my alumni game not this January, but the January before, and that was the last time I picked up a baseball. So before I do that, before I go play for Team Ireland, I got to get back in shape a little bit. But yeah, that'd be the ultimate goal, to see Ireland play in a World Baseball Classic, or at least like one of the last qualifiers or something like that. I think that would be unbelievable, and a lot of people would tune in for something like that and really support the team.
So we're not going to see like a Daniel Bard, out of baseball for 7 years and come back, and now he's the closer for the Rockies.
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be me. When I first left the Mets, I didn't really expect to retire. I thought I'd just, sign somewhere else. But I kind of realized that I was kind of over the whole lifestyle, the whole being gone for 8 months out of the year and stuff like that. And so it's been really nice to be kind of, grounded, staying in one place for the whole year and being able to come home to the same place. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. And yeah, so I'm interviewing for like real full-time jobs now for when I get that college degree. And so I think I'm going to be doing this for a while.
So basically the hunger that you need isn't there. So just for one thing, so you grew up as an Angels fan. Are your parents Angel fans?
Mm-hmm.
How was it received when you had that brief period where you were a Dodger?
They were super excited, just because, if I got called up, I would be super close to home. I remember being a kid, I always said like I would never play for the Dodgers, and then when you actually become a professional baseball player, it's not really how it works, And I was
especially when they're signing the checks.
Exactly. And when I found out that the Dodgers claimed me, I was super excited too. And that was short-lived, though. So I was there and back in less than a week. So that was quite the experience.
So you're drafted by the Mets. You go to Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. So if I have this right, you were in Brooklyn, Columbia, St. Lucie, and Binghamton.
Binghamton, yeah.
So, and actually, which is pretty cool, is I think it's the Binghamton. If you go on the Binghamton, the Rumble Ponies website, your picture comes up.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been on the website, so I got to check.
Well, I hadn't been to last night, but it was pretty cool. I'm like, wow, that's like either my computer's playing tricks on me, So I mean, that's quite you're running quite the gamut. I'm familiar with Port St. Lucie, interesting part of the world.
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything after 9 o'clock at night. And I looked. So you spent quite a few years with Chris Flexen.
Yeah.
So are you? Do you stay in touch?
I haven't talked to him in a while, but I have his number. I've been watching him pitch for the Mariners and stuff, and I was watching him when he was over in Asia playing.
Yeah, I think, wasn't
it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he was on Doosan, I think. But yeah, so I was watching him this whole time over there and stuff, and I pretty much all my buddies that are still playing, I just keep tabs on them and send them messages here and there. So it's cool to see all the success that he's having, and I was super excited when he signed that deal with the Mariners. I even tweeted out how awesome it was that he was getting a nice little contract with them after pitching so well the year before.
Who's your closest friend from your Mets days?
My two closest friends would probably be Corey Taylor and Corey Oswald. Those were my two roommates whenever we were all on the same team. So me and them talk a couple times a week at least. And Corey Oswald's from San Diego, so me and him will hang out in the off season and things like that.
Very cool. So 2018, you get the call. What was that like?
Well, I'm sure you've heard the story. I almost missed the call. I did miss the call. They had to call me like 3 different times because I was sleeping. And the first time that they called my hotel phone, I picked it up off the hook and put it back down because I was like, who is calling my hotel phone? Then they called again, so I picked it up and it was my manager, and he was saying like, you're not pitching for us today. And I was like, oh, is someone making a spot start? He's just gonna move me back or what? And he was like, you're pitching tomorrow in Cincinnati. And instantly I was wide awake, just like kind of jumped up out of bed, like, what? Like, are you kidding me? And just it didn't feel real. And
where were you?
I was in Salt Lake City, and I was supposed to start that day. It was the day after Cinco de Mayo, so it was May 6th when I got the call. So I definitely had a couple beers before, just Cinco de Mayo, but I'm starting the next day, so just had a couple, just kept it
Just to help you sleep.
Exactly. And so it really hit me though when I started calling all my family and telling them like, hey, do you got plans tomorrow? Because if you could fly to Cincinnati somehow, you get to see me pitch on a big league field and stuff. And just mom started crying, like everyone. I called like my granny and granda. They just started screaming into the phone when I told them. It was amazing.
Now that you had a good group there. I mean, I remember there was an uncle that they interviewed, and Granny was there, and
yep, yeah, there was like 11 or 12 or something like that.
Because
they all hopped on the plane and they jumped over.
My girlfriend Christy Ackard, she was covering the Mets at that time. So obviously, I mean, I have been following your progress, and hoping at some point to get you the Foley's, which thankfully we did get to do before it closed. And
yeah, that was awesome.
Funny because she called me from outside the locker room, and she's like, I think we're going to have an international incident. She said, there's a big group of your people here trying to get into the clubhouse to see PJ Conlon. And I was like, well, let them in. There's never enough Irish people in baseball, But
yeah, they came and got me out of the clubhouse because they were like, they're just mobs by the door. So you got to go see your family because I don't think they're leaving anytime soon.
So, I mean, growing up, obviously growing up and you were very aware of your Irishness and what it meant to be Irish. And I mean, let's say as a teenager in California, what did that mean to you? What does it mean to you, to be Irish?
Just having that background and being able to represent it, it's just always seemed like I've had, like this like almost like a higher calling, like I'm representing much more than just myself. So
I mean, that's very powerful stuff. And actually, I know exactly what you're saying, because when we started the Hall of Fame, one of the underlying facts is just the fact that, having, I don't know what it's like, because obviously I am Irish. I mean, all my family's Irish, but the pride that some of these guys that I've met throughout the game, whether it be that Irish grandfather or uncle, or sitting at this and listening to the stories, and obviously it's pretty cool because you grew up with, both sets of grandparents. So on a side note, what's the most interesting dish either one of your grannies cooks for you?
The most interesting, I don't know. My favorite by far though is mince and potatoes.
That's your Scottish granny. I was going to ask you. It seems to be a Scottish thing. right? It's just minced meat and potatoes.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one by far.
That's probably something you could. So we have another question here. So, you know, being Irish, have you been inspired by or paid attention to like other Irish American ball players, or is it something that, you know, kind of when you hear that Irish name, you're drawn to, or?
See, there wasn't a ton of. I mean, I know there's been a lot of baseball players with Irish descent and stuff. Really, the only one that I can remember ever being told like, oh, is Irish and playing in the big leagues. I think was Steve Garvey. I think my dad, because my dad grew up in Orange County, so and in like once he came over from Ireland, so in like the 80s. And he went to a lot of Dodgers and Angel games. And so he always told me about Steve Garvey.
Well, Steve is a good friend to the society, and hopefully when we can start to travel and that, well, maybe we can get together with Steve, and he's a really, really good dude.
That'd be awesome.
So, okay, so let's go back. So walking into a major league clubhouse, I mean, you had whatever 4 spring trainings, so you know you knew a lot of these guys. But what's it like to walk into a major league clubhouse knowing there's a locker with your name on it, your jersey hanging there?
It was. I think that's the most nervous I was that night, because once I got out onto the field, everything was fine. But walking into that clubhouse, and yeah, like I'd been in big league spring training, you know, I've talked to all these guys before, I've shared a locker room with them, but it was just different. Like, seemed like all of that was just practice, which it was. But going into that locker room, just kind of, I honestly didn't know what to expect. It was super strange. They wouldn't even let me in the clubhouse. Security wouldn't let me in because I didn't have any sort of ID. I didn't have like the player's card.
Right.
I just had my own ID, and I'm like, okay, well, I can show you this ID. And they're like, we don't know who you are and stuff. I'm like, it's my first day here. Like, I'm pitching tonight. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. So they had to call down to the clubhouse to be like, hey, is this guy telling the truth, or is he just trying to get back here? And so they finally let me in. And then as soon as I got in the clubhouse, you know, you got the clubbies coming up to you being like, oh, here, let me take your bag. Let me set up your locker for you. You got people coming over to you, like had to sign a bunch of paperwork. And I was just like, well, like this is just kind of, it was kind of overwhelming right away.
And like you said, once you get on the field, so you had 3 appearances, 2 starts.
Mm-hmm.
You recorded 5 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Can you remember who they are?
Tucker Barnhart.
Right.
Dansby Swanson.
Oh, you're in order.
Yeah, I'm trying to go in order. Against the Phillies, it gets a little tough. I know last is Nick Williams. And then I think, who did I strike out first? Did it go Odubel Herrera?
Correct. And one more.
And then, geez. I mean, I only had 5. It's not too many, but I can't remember who the
last one was
is.
Michael Franco.
Michael Franco, that's what it was. It was a fastball inside.
So,
I got him.
So side note, so your first start's in Great American Ballpark. I missed it by a day. I got there the next day, but you guys are gone.
Man.
So fast forward to your next start. So I happened to be in Atlanta. I think it was a holiday weekend. Was it Memorial Day, or it was a
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it was Memorial Day because the day before we were in Milwaukee and we were wearing like the camo uniform.
Right. So I work all night at Foley's. I don't go to bed. I fly to Atlanta, go to the hotel, drop off the rental car. Christy goes to work. I go to the ballpark, and the first game goes on forever. And I fell asleep in the upper deck. and I got awoken by Charlie Culberson hitting a home run in the bottom of the eighth to win, or the bottom of the ninth to win the game.
Yep.
So I'm getting ready to leave. I have a really, really, really important business event the next day, but I only have one pair of pants and one pair of shoes with me. The rest were shorts. I get ready to leave. It starts to rain, as you know.
Yep.
And John, the rain came down, and literally the drops in it. When it rains in Atlanta, the drops are as big as baseballs.
Yeah,
I couldn't risk getting wet walking back to the hotel. So I sat there, and then I was bored. So I started walking and doing like laps of the stadium. I walked 30,000 steps that day waiting for the. So I said to Christy, I said, listen, as soon as it stops raining, I'm out of here. So it stops raining, and I'm like, I gotta go. And then they come over the loud. I think the game started like 10 o'clock at night. I want to say
yeah, it was like 10 o'clock, 10:30 or something.
Yeah, 10. I think the first pitch was at 10:40. So I text Christy and I said, okay, I'm out of here. And as I'm saying that, it comes over the PA system, tonight's starter for the New York Mets is PJ Conlon. I'm like, fuck, I can't leave the Irish guy. So that's how I saw your second start, and it was like, and I said to Christy, she said, "Are you going to wait?" I'm like, "I'm here as long as PJ is, because if they're not abuse for PJ, I'm out." But
well,
you told me a side story that you didn't know till very late that you were going to start, right? You can't warm up like you normally would.
No, yeah, because it was like you said, it was raining like crazy, and any normal circumstance, that game would have been postponed. But for some reason, because Jerry Blevins is like he's in the players union. Like, I'm pretty sure he's like pretty involved in that players union. So he was in contact with the league, and for some reason they really wanted us to get that game in. And so they had us wait around for hours, and I was just in like the kitchen area, just playing cards with a couple guys on the team for hours. And then someone walked in and was like, "Hey, game's in 35 minutes." And I was like, 35 minutes? Like, I'm supposed to be ready for first pitch in 35 minutes. They're like, "Yeah, so get out there." And I was like, what the heck? So by the time I grabbed my stuff, put on my cleats, I had about 26, 27 minutes to completely stretch and toss and get loose, and then go pitch.
And normally, how long would that take?
I usually start getting going with stretching like 45 minutes at least before a start. So that was just like, I was like, this is the big leagues. Like, I gotta prepare even more. Like, now I'm just being thrown out there. I was kind of like, I don't like this.
Now, your final appearance was at Citi Field, so you got to pitch at Citi Field. What was that like?
That was the best. I think I've told people this, that I think that was the time where I was like, okay, this really is the big leagues, because I came out of the bullpen, and then you just see that bullpen door swing open, and you step out onto the field and start running in from the outfield, and you can just see how big the stadium is. And that was by far the most adrenaline that I've had, because that was the most people I've pitched in front of. I finally got to pitch in New York at home. And so that was my favorite moment, I think.
You see all the tricolors? There were a lot of tricolors there that night.
Really? I tried to take a look around to take it in, but I think it was just very blurry for me.
I know, because I gave 3 to 3 different people who were going to the game. Point of order, 2 of which I've never gotten back. So PJ, before we wrap up, there is one name I see here. He was your manager a couple of years, and now he's the major league manager, Luis Rojas. What was he like as a manager?
He's my favorite manager that I've had in pro ball by far. So I got to meet him first in 2016 when I got called up halfway through the year to St. Lucie. And he's so laid back, but he's so laid back, and then he really gets into you and gets into the team when he needs to. He has great feel about that. He's not always going to be, on your ass, like, you got to do this, you got to do this. He's going to let you do your own thing, your own routine. But when you need a little kick in the butt, he knows the perfect time for that. And so he's just the best manager to have for that long, 160 game run, because he's so even keel. He never gets too high, never gets too low. And that's what I've always loved in Louis, and I think is the best trait a manager can have. He just smooth sailing. You wouldn't know if we're on a 20 game win streak or if we've lost 15 games in a row. And I think that is the biggest sign of leadership. And when he got the big league head coaching job, I was just like, I was so stoked for him. And I think he's going to do great.
We have a couple of questions before we wrap up. John wants to know, did you prefer starting pitching or relieving?
I personally enjoyed relieving more. I always thought that throughout the minors, I would be a starting pitcher, but I always thought if I was going to make a long-term career out of it, I would be a relief pitcher. And I only had that one relief appearance, but that was my only appearance where I didn't give up any runs. And in my other games, I usually did good for the first 1 or 2 innings. So I think at the big league level, I would have been a lot more successful as a reliever and just being able to go through the lineup once, because since I didn't have overpowering stuff, as I moved up, 3 times through the lineup, that's where I started to get, hit a little harder. But I was always usually very solid the first time through the lineup.
What do you mean 3 times through the lineup?
My last year,
nobody goes 3 times through the lineup.
Yeah, I know. But I always wanted to be a reliever, but I mean, I threw harder out of the bullpen, but they were always keeping me as a starter until that last season in 2019. But I was hurt pretty much the whole year, so didn't really get to try it out too much.
We don't have time to go into some of the antics that go on in bullpens. Or I have one last question. So, in all of your career, what's the funniest conversation you've ever had on the mound? Whether it be with a pitching coach or a manager or an umpire.
I think with Tomas Nido, he was my favorite catcher to throw to coming up, and there'd be times where I'd just be cruising, and I'm a guy that likes to work fast, and just out of nowhere he'd come up, he'd like take a trip to the mound, and he'd be walking. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm cruising. Like, get behind the plate. What are you trying to do? And he walks up, and he's like, I'm getting bored back there, man. Like, I need to come and talk to you. I couldn't stand being back there anymore. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, I'm in the zone. He's like, yeah, you're in the zone. You're going to be totally fine. He's like, I just wanted to come say hi because I'm getting bored. Like, you're doing too well. Like, this is boring. Like, at least like, like throw something in the dirt so I can have some fun. I'm like, okay, man, like I'll try to do something for you back here.
So my last question for you is, are you watching much baseball now? And if so, what do you make of the new rules, like the relief pitcher having to pitch to 3 people and the runner on second in extra innings?
I'm watching more baseball now than I ever have been. And because when I was playing, I didn't really watch a whole lot of baseball because that was kind of the last thing I wanted to do when I got back from the field. The 3 batter rule I like, but I think I only like that because I think that would have benefited me, because I wasn't necessarily this lefty specialist guy. I was kind of even against righties and lefties. So I think if I was still playing, that'd kind of benefit me and maybe getting a spot on a team. I don't mind the runner on second, but in extra innings, but I think if you're going to do that, it should be no bunting. Because, you know, if the away team comes up, they don't score, then the home team should bunt 100% of the time to get that runner to third.
But they don't. You only bunt 52% of the time.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand why. I mean, I'd understand if, you know, the other team did score, but if they didn't score and the game's still tied and the home team comes up in the bottom of the inning, I would bunt him to third every single time and take the out. And I don't know. I've noticed that they don't really bunt, but they should. But I think the rule would be better if you couldn't bunt.
Well, PJ, this has been an absolute blast. It's good to see you again, my friend. Good to see you doing well. Good luck with the studying.
Likewise.
I look forward not only to seeing how your next career goes on, but I also look forward to, if not you pitching for Ireland, hoping to see you maybe as a pitching coach or a bullpen coach or in some capacity. It would be kind of awesome to see you go out to make a pitch and hey, maybe even a manager. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody
No
that's
problem.
watched. Keep an eye on the Irish American Baseball Society website to see about future interviews coming up. And as they'd say, Gonari and Boherlat, my friend, be well. And thanks for getting up early.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, PJ.
Take care.
All right, I'll see you guys.